Good morning, everybody. And again, hello again to our virtual attendees. Thank you for hanging in all day yesterday. We had a long day, but the feedback that we received was pretty good. You're hanging in there tough with us, and we hope that you are really taking notes and learning and all those other good things that happen when you have a conference like this. This is the 27th Annual International Father Family Practitioners Conference. Again, I want to start by thanking all of our partners and sponsoring organizations that made this whole conference possible. Again, want to thank our conference planning team. We appreciate the technical support that we're getting, from our hotel people, and we're just ready to go today. And so, a couple things before we get started. One, this is the day that we're planning on going on the Hill. We understand that there are about 30 of you that are going on the Hill. Yay! Going on the Hill. I want you to get used to that. Get used to that. Again, this is the day to be political. All right. And I'm very political today. Let me show you why I'm political. All right. Because I put my Father's Matter button on my right side. So when I shake the hand of my delegate, shake the hand of that staff person, they're looking at me, but they're also looking at the button. You got that? That's the political side. All right. And I want you to just use it as an opportunity to, again, to educate and to build rapport. Again, we know that many of you may not have experience in visiting folks on the Hill, but get used to it, because this is something that's going to be very much a part of our practitioners for fathers and families, and know that we will be back in this area again next year. And just want you to get very comfortable in doing that, because it's very important. So I want to say that. Also, I want you to know that we have our Favorite Fathers dinner tonight. I wish those of you who are out there virtually could participate in our Favorite Fathers program. I think that you have access to that tonight, and so please tune in. For those of you who are here between now and 2 o'clock, for those of you who have coworkers that are present here who are dads who you would like to nominate as a favorite father, because they're a father, they're a good colleague, you can nominate them between now and 2 o'clock. I'm going to, after we get started, I'm going to put up a QR code, and you fill that QR code out. And the Favorite Fathers dinner is going to be very nice. We have 10 nominations have been made of favorite fathers. We're going to have music. We're going to have a keynote speaker. We're going to have, a good time. We may get out there and dance. I don't know, but we're going to have a good time. But just want you to be aware of that. And the favorite fathers, those who will not be in attendance, but those who will be in attendance, they also will be able to enter into a raffle where they can win up to one of 3 iPads. All right, iPads. All right. So we try to keep it, spicing it up a little bit. Also, we are going to have a briefing session for those that are going on the Hill. That'll be led by Ken Harris, and it starts at 12:30. And so what we want you to do, lunch starts at 12. It's on your own. There are any number of restaurants you can walk to get a sandwich or something, or downstairs. And Ken will be meeting you at 12:30 in this room. And just to go over some tips, and also we have let it be up to you in terms of how to get there, but we do have a transport for about 4 or 5 people. And so for those who are interested in being a part of that, if you can sign up at the registration desk, first come, first serve, we will provide transportation on the Hill. And also, at the end of the session, I'm going to provide that QR code, and I want every man in here to sign the health pledge, that over the next year, you will get, know your numbers, your biometrics, your glucose, your blood pressure, all those things. and or a physical checkup. And so I'm really on a campaign to extend the life expectancy of men. We got to do that. We got to do that. And why wouldn't that be a part of any fatherhood program? Because we want a father to not only show up, we want him to show up healthy, and we want him to plan to be a successful granddad. A successful granddad. Prevention is always better than cure. And we got to stop showing up at the hospital for the first time, gentlemen, in the emergency ward when it's too late. And so that pledge will be up there, and all you got to do is scan it, sign the pledge. I'm trying to get 1,000 pledges from men by the end of June in celebration of Men's Health Month, which is June. And so I want you to do that. And so I think I've taken care of all the things I was supposed to do. And now I'm going to turn it over to Ken Harris, who's going to take us through a Mentimeter exercise. And then after that, we will begin with our evaluators network.
All right, so real quickly, everyone can pull out your cell phones. Want to do a little engagement through the Mentimeter. When you pull out your cell phone, feel free to take a picture of that QR code, and those online do the same. And we'll go into a Mentimeter. Yes, and if you are having trouble with the code going to the Mentimeter, just type in mentimeter.com, and then you'll see our code is 6960-1148. That's 6960-1148 if you're not getting it straight with the code. Okay, but you should be able to get it no problem. All right. And if I were in church, I would say if you have it, say amen. But there's some people that go to church up in here. Awesome. That's fine. Now it's, yeah, you're at the right place. All right. So again, you've heard throughout this conference that each of us are now official members of code. The code is 6960-1148. Okay. All of us are members of the Practitioners Network. Again, some of you that are a little bit older may recall it was NPCL who had a national network in the 90s, and it was necessary to have a collective body really advancing fatherhood at the beginning of the fatherhood movement. And we are here today because of the work of that network back in the 90s. Under the vision of Dr. Johnson, we knew it was time to establish another national network, and we have the experience and foundation to do so. And so we're excited that you are part of this practitioners network for fathers and family, and your membership is good right through the end of this year, December 31st, 2025. And we plan to engage with you over the Hoover app from this conference over the next 90 days, because Hoover is open and available. That platform is available to you, and we want to engage you over the next 3 months. It's important that we build a strong collective. And so expect that engagement over the next 90 days, 30, 60, 90 days. We'll be engaging on that platform, and then we'll transition to keeping in communication for the remainder of the year. And by the end of the year, you'll know where you stand, and we'll know where we stand with you, and we really can hit 2026 really strong, where people can really decide, are you going to be in this network and or not? So you'll understand the vision, where we want to go, but it's not about us, it's about we all together. And so again, we know how to do this. The collective impact you've heard about, that's what the network is going to be about. So we're really excited. And we just want to take time today just to ask you a couple of questions through Mentimeter, because again, we have to get to know each other. And so a lot of that engagement on the back of your programs, also there is a survey, a QR code to the survey for the PFF. And so again, complete that as well, and we'll get more detailed information from each of you. But we just wanted to start as a collective today. And one question we want to know is, you think about a national network, an advocacy organization, again, being in place to represent us all in this nation. How would a national fatherhood advocacy organization assist and support the work that you are doing? So again, all of us are doing work at various levels. There's a breadth of fatherhood and a depth of it, and all of us are all over there, and that's wonderful. But how would a national network help you in the work that you're doing? Because we need to understand all the different pathways so that we can build this collective. So just take time to answer that. You won't be able to see the results, but we're going to share them back with you later. We just wanted to get the information now. And at some point, we'll get this back to you. And I'll read out some of the answers that are coming through. But again, how could a national advocacy organization for fatherhood assist and support your work? Mentorship and leadership is coming up. So people are looking for mentorship and leadership. Also, it gives the local collaborative a national reach. Absolutely. Your local data can be backed up by national data. And that's what we want to do, to give you that information that's going to support those proposals. It gives greater credibility and support. It galvanizes my efforts. Great. Providing opportunities to gather and other practitioners to share ideas and support the future of fatherhood work. These consistent webinars to stay engaged and up to date with best practices. Awesome. To support fatherhood. The partnership opportunities, best practices, mentorship, leadership, identifying trends. Absolutely. And we got a panel that's coming before us going to talk about some of that. Creating a gig board. I don't know what a gig board is. Somebody that said that have to let me know, but creating a gig board that lists all the work and volunteer and giving opportunities across the network. I like the idea. I may not know what gig is, but I get what you're saying, which is important to have this list and resources available. So again, providing resources, I'm seeing that. Curriculum concepts. I love that, because we also have to build practice for evidence, right? Because people are doing some good things that we need to lift up and really have the resources to kind of bring it to the evidence and validation, which is MPCL. MPCL has been doing that. Herb has been doing that work. And so that's exciting to hear, because we know you're doing great work out there, and we want to be a network that lifts that work up. This is a great one too, keeping me aware of the laws and policies that impact working with fathers. That's important, because again, folks are not thinking broadly about the other elements around that father's, the constellation of a father, different things that can impact what you're trying to do. Again, those statistics of sharing funding opportunities, absolutely. And the exciting thing about the funding opportunities is we can actually apply for them even together. There are some opportunities that would not be available to you individually, but we can come as a collective and get the pot and then spread it out. Things like that, absolutely. Connecting with other people. So keep those things coming. Does it sound good? It sounds like a network is needed. Sound like a pop? Absolutely. Give it up. A hand for that. Yeah, we want this network. Again, so you fill out that information and prepare to be engaged. Let's go to the second and last question. This is great. I'm excited. Data. And this data man keeps looking over and peeking at the data because he's nosy, but I know he loves data. We have awesome. Okay. Oh, that was the only question I had for today. But no, we're going to have more later, but that was what we want just to get you started. But again, on the back of your programs, you have the QR code that asks more questions, demographics, and things like that. And you have an opportunity to share your ideas, challenges, and things like that. But just expect to hear from us over the next, 30, 60, 90, all the way up to the end of the year. We're going to be coming at you so that we can build this solid network. And remember, no one else is doing it. No one else did it in the 90s. It was MPCL. And who is it going to be now? Who? Dr. J, back to you, sir.
Thank you, Ken, for that. I hope each of you enjoyed that. We're going to keep building information. I really love the Mentimeter because you get to see in real time what people are thinking, and it's so great because we want to build based on what you need PFF to be for you, and that's just so important. And just to always know that you are part of a national network. You're just not showing up as an individual agency or individual social entrepreneur. You're a part of a larger group of folks, and what we want to do is build it and sustain it over time to really make the voice for fatherhood and a voice of influence and a voice to be reckoned with as well. And so we're going to get started with our morning session here. We have a group of distinguished looking gentlemen up here. And it's interesting that, Ken talked about how important it is to think about even working together on things. And just want you to know that we are bona fide, qualified to be able to do a lot of these things. And this session this morning is a session focused on the MPCL Evaluators Network. program evaluation and sustainability is the goal, charting a new course for sustainability. I have been privileged to know Herb Turner for many, many years. And we don't know a lot of people like Herb, who have, PhDs in evaluation. All right, you have people who are evaluators, but they may be an evaluator coming out of the School of Social Work, and that could happen, right? But what we have in this whole group of here is what I'm going to call psychometricians, right? They understand metrics. They know how to measure. They know how to design an evaluation flow and design for any level of program. And what Herb likes to say, anybody doing fatherhood, any program, irrespective of its size, need to have the ability to be evaluated. And so it's a course that you chart. It's a course that you chart. If you look at the book that Herb and I co-wrote on responsible fatherhood, cornerstones of responsible fatherhood, what we actually say is that we know over the years of experience the types of fatherhood programs that are out there. And that is very important, even if you are a one-person operation that really is a circumstance for a lot of people in fatherhood, you still need to be evaluated. You see, you still need to be evaluated because we got to move you from out of type 1. We're trying to move you up to type 3 so you can compete, and that there's steps you got to take to get to 3. Because once you get to 3, some of you are going to think you sold all that in a bag of chips, that you don't need evaluation. But even at 3s, you want to be able to sustain yourself over time. We got to stop setting these programs up and they run for a year or 2 years and then we shut them down. That ruins our credibility in the community. All right, a lot of the communities that we work in, they're used to programs coming in and going. And so they don't know really how to whether or not they should believe you or not. And even if they participate, they still may not believe you because they're saying, well, what's in it for me? All right. And they may come and say, look, let me get the 2 years of what they give me and then I'll be about my way. We're trying to engage folks in processes that speak to transformation, that changes habits, that it puts fathers in a mindset that my responsibility, first and foremost, is to my children. But in order for me to be there for my children, I got to take care of myself. I got to do those things necessary to be the best father I could be under my circumstances. Under my circumstances. And no two fathers are alike. Let me show you what I mean by that. And I want you to gaze the audience. Gaze the audience, right? No two individuals in here have the same clothes on. Everybody got something different on, right? Everybody, because we're all individuals. We're all individuals. And so these evaluators, they understand how important it is to meet you where you are, but they understand enough about evaluation design to tell you how you can move to that gold standard. How to move to that gold standard. For those of you who went to Avis's workshop today or yesterday? Yesterday, they laid the framework for that, I'm sure. All right? You cannot be afraid of moving up that ladder to be able to, at some point, to be an impact program, which essentially means undertaking a random control trial evaluation. And we know the folks in Memphis here, y'all been doing that. Those things aren't easy, right? But it's some steps in the process. And once you get comfortable with it and not be afraid of it, you can do many things, okay? Next slide, please. So, this starts from, looking at why we thought it was necessary to form this evaluation network. Well, NPCL has been doing training and consulting and a lot of things over the years. We've also had experience managing nationwide demonstration projects. We managed the Partnership for Fragile Families demonstration, one of the first demonstrations, multi-site demonstrations that really looked at how do you begin to connect community-based organizations with child support. One of the experiences that we had in terms of building our relationship with child support, do you know I received a grant to take 50 people over to South Africa. South Africa, to do what? To share what we were planning to do with the Partners of Fragile Families Project. I took 50 people over there, and we took them away, 17 hours away to a place where all we had time to do is get to know each other better. Then we came back and implemented the project. All right. But that was a very intentional thing we did. And we were doing it at a time in South Africa when they were going through transition from apartheid. We also played a major role in the Fathers at Work demonstration during that time. And we learned a whole lot, from that experience. This is the 27th annual International Fatherhood Conference. Let me tell you something. There's a big difference between the first one that we gave and the one 26 years later. And so we know a lot of people. I was Kim Dent, who was here yesterday. She said if she goes to any fatherhood meeting around the country and she mentions the name Dr. J, folks say, I know who that is. Because, again, I've been very intentional in saying that my name might be synonymous with the fatherhood word. All right. Especially since I've been around 36 years, a lot of folks can't say that. And I just say that to say that I've been in the work. And I've been involved in it from writing curriculums, being a part of the research projects. I've been a part of every major demonstration project focused on fatherhood. I met Herb along the way, when he was blossoming as a graduate student at the University of Pennsylvania. All right. And we got joined at the hip, and our relationship extends 25 years. All right. Staying in touch with one another and building relationship, because that's how this stuff goes. And I want you to know that the Evaluators Network is very much a part of the journey and the story of what we do at NPCL. And we're so proud that we were able to identify, you ready for this? Herb Turner, PhD. Jason Snipes, PhD. Rafu Dorado, all right? Dorado, PhD. Darius Taylor, PhD. Matthew Alamo, PhD, right? All PhD. 5 PhDs in evaluation. Listen, ain't no place on the planet where you're going to see that. All right? And they're doing different types of evaluation. And so as we form this network, that allows us to be able to offer that as a service to you as being a part of PFF. Because we want you to be not only aware of the up-to-date things that are going on in fatherhood, we also want you to know that this is not only an evaluations network, it's also a partnership opportunity, right? Because we have to join forces and go after some of these grants to be able to make sure that what we believe is very important to happen in the lives of fathers and families can take place. And we can do so and be able to compete at the highest level possible. We were talking last night at the Authors Roundtable, and one of the things that Herb said was that, look, not only do we have to compete, but understand who you're competing against. That you have firms who write proposals for folks during this federal grant process, and they know what Geneva knows very well and Ken knows very well, following the requirements of the application. They know how to do it. It's a factory, all right? And they're competing against some of you. You say, I got some good ideas. Rachel, you know how it is. You got the good ideas. You put them all together. You say, we got a fair chance, but you know what your competition is. And so when you're competing, you need to have, understanding that you're in it to win it. And so you have to have the best response, the best competitive response against the competition that you're going to be up against in terms of these proposals, whether or not they're to the federal government, whether or not they're at the state or at the local level. Because one of the things I want you to walk away with coming out of this in the state, folks in Memphis already know that the states is a place where you can get resources to do the work with fathers. And I want you to think state and local almost first before you think about the feds. The feds are going to be there. If you get the opportunity, fine, but the resources are there at the state and local level. So what I'd like to do before I engage these guys, what I would like them to do is just share with you 2 minutes each, right? And I don't think any of them come from, places where, was your daddy a pastor? Your daddy a pastor? Your daddy a pastor? Your daddy a pastor? You're a pastor. All right. Matthew, and see, I'm a pastor's kid. All right. And what that means, I'm a Baptist pastor's kid. And what does that mean? I never met a mic I didn't like. All right. And so what we're going to do is just have these distinguished gentlemen, introduce themselves, and then we'll just go through the flow of what could occur in partnership and why an evaluators network like this is so important in this field. Because we have the traditional big name, organizations who've been doing this stuff for a long time. And I would say, Geneva, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of the stuff that they write up, I don't know if you can practically apply it, right? It's all caught up. It's a 1,000-page report. And you say, well, how does this relate to me? You shouldn't have to do that. You should know how to relate to you at every step of the way, So Herb, yes, please start. Who is Dr. Herb?
Can you hear me? Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. It's a tremendous honor to be here with you. Thank you for getting up early this morning and coming to this session. My name is Herb Turner, and I'm president and principal scientist of Analytica. This is like a full circle moment for me because actually MPCL, when I met Jeff and Uriel back in 1997, they sort of gave me the inspiration to start my own firm. So in some ways, Analytica was incubated by MPCL. And we've been around since 2004, and we've specialized over the years in systematic reviews, meta-analysis, randomized controlled trials, quasi-experiments, all in to the service of identifying programs that work. And what I would like to say about this panel is that, or the Evaluators Network, I think we offer something very unique. First of all, very humbled that my colleagues, when Jeff and I approached him with the idea, he was supportive. And then when I reached out to the guys, everybody came on board and everything's just kind of fell in place. And I think what we offer is you have an opportunity to partner with some people that can give you the very best science to include in your evaluation and integrate into your program so you can be competitive in order to go for the funding. But more importantly, we bring a social and emotional dimension to this where you can trust us and you can be assured that you're going to get our very best. And also, we're going to have fun doing it, So I just want to give a shout out to some of our founding partners. There's Eric over there with Fountain of Life Ministries, and Tehran with Fathers Making Progress. We've already been working on the proposal, putting together the logic model of theory of change, and we work hard, but we also have fun doing it, and we trust each other, and we believe that there's a synergy there that's going to allow us to do some great things. And then let me just close before handing it over to Jason. As I said, I think we've assembled some of the very best talent in the country, regardless of race, class, or ethnicity. But also, I think for me, the key metric, this isn't about us. This is about ultimately how many families do we strengthen through the programs. For us, that's the key metric. This is about strengthening families because we believe that if we can just take that first step of getting a critical mass of programs that are strengthening families, we know then if we get a critical mass of strengthened families, we get a stronger community. So I'll hand it over to Jason.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Dr. J and Herb for just including me in this group. I really appreciate it, and just the opportunity to be part of this type of collaborative is really a blessing. And for those of you who don't know, Herb is a giant in our field. And I've had the privilege to work with Herb multiple times over the years, and he's one of the first people I go to when I don't quite understand what to do, which is not often that I admit. Might happen often, but I don't admit it often. But anyway, my name is Jason Snipes. I've been doing research and evaluation, applied research and evaluation, education, youth development for about 30 years. Work on randomized trials, quasi experiments, et cetera. Worked for some of these big monster firms that we're all talking about. And along the way, one of the main things I've learned is that evaluation is not a tool to sort of thumbs up and thumbs down exercise that's properly used. It's a process of sort of successive approximation. And it's really a matter of like a strategy for program improvement. And it's really important to come to the work that way. And what that means, as kind of Herb was suggesting, is that for me and for us, we come to the work trying to understand the learning goals, the evidence goals of the program. What do you need to know to better serve your people? Not, we know there are requirements of evaluation. We're going to meet those. But what are you actually trying to learn that you can apply to your work? And sort of that's how I've approached the work for, a long time. And a lot of the work I've done focuses on sort of psychosocial factors and phenomena, which is really important in youth development and fatherhood, especially. Do you think about the processes that young men have to go through in order to change their relationship with their co-parent and with their child and just with themselves as they think about themselves as a person? And that's sort of one of the things I focus on, even though, you probably classify me as like an economist in terms of my actual training. Anyway, I'll pass on to Dr. Duradoye.
Thank you. How are y'all doing?
We're good.
So I'll say my name is Raifu Durodoye, but I like the way you tried it too. That was good too. And I'll say I've been mentored by Herb Turner. So one of my biggest projects, Dr. Turner was a lead technical advisor. So he's kind of helped me in this role. I do a lot of work with Jason Snipes. He's also mentored me. So just the opportunity to be here with mentors and for them to trust me to kind of support this work, that's very important to me. I'll say that I'm very invested in supporting this group because as an evaluator, you get to work with a lot of different types of nonprofit agencies, institutions. And one thing that's always very easy to understand is how invested people are in the work they're doing. Sometimes we do this and it's a job, and sometimes you can tell that this is people's passion, it's people's lives. And it's just in hearing and being a part of this, you can tell that this is really important to the people in this room. And that makes it actually even more important to me. So now I'm more invested and more ready to go than I was before I even got here. So I'll say that. Just in terms of my background, so I work at Wested. I'm a senior research manager. I also do a lot of work with randomized controls trials. I'll say that I was in the strategic data project. I got introduced to this idea of even doing these things. I didn't even know they existed, and I was just motivated to be a part of this. So to be here on a panel talking about my work doing randomized control trials with a group that looks like this is a high point for me. So I'll just say that and turn it over to Darius. But thank you all for having me.
Give honor to God, who's the head of my life. I'm kidding. Uh,
Okay, Pastor.
Yeah. I'm Dr. Darius D. Taylor. You can call me Dr. D. And my background is in psychometrics as well as I'm a social epidemiologist. I like to also braid in creativity in all the work that I do. And so I'm also a performing artist and a youth pastor. And so I am really your eclectic fellow here on the board and panel. I'm really grateful for Herb. I actually met him first in my work at Wested in the Justice and Prevention Research Center, where we focused on criminal justice outcomes, health outcomes, and education outcomes and the intersections thereof. So I'm really one who is very like multiple hats. I'm a generalist when it comes to understanding program design to evaluation with an intention towards your eyes on the measurement model. Like, how are you measuring what you said you were going to do? How are you ensuring that you have cumulative, let me make sure I wrote that right. Cumulative and collective impact. Not just, oh, I'm going to do this one-off program so I can get this money, but how are you really changing the lives of people over time with a strategy? An intention towards strategy is very important to me. I worked across a lot of different sectors. Even though I have a young face, I've had over like 15 years of experience in a lot of different sectors. And I've seen this continuous cycle of just going after things because I know how to do it. And not, I care about the people enough to know that, oh, last year they did something like this in the community. So let's think about how we add on to that, not make our own thing. And so I'm really intentional about that. And I'm really rooted in my work very familially. I have history working with the Native American tribes. I was working for the American Indian Higher Education Consortium most recently. Currently, I am working with my own firm. I'm the founder and principal scientist of Healing Harvest Strategies, where we're building healing seeds, tilling healing seeds, one seed at a time. And so I think about challenges with society and at the society level and individual level. How can we think about how we impact change at a socio-ecological level, a spectrum from individual to policy? And so I'll stop there because I keep talking, because yes, I am a pastor.
All right, morning, folks. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
I want to say first, I continue to be honored and inspired by how quickly Jeff and Herb and everyone has brought me into the fold. To be here only a year and be on the stage with you all, I continue to be extremely thankful. So I appreciate it. So I'm Dr. Matthew Lemu. I'm an assistant professor at Northeastern University. I'm a sociologist by training with a specific focus on qualitative research. And I think with that, I bring a particularly unique set of skills, I think, to this space and conversation. I'll say first with my research. So I study absentee fatherhood. And in part, one big hope I have for my work is us to think more critically about how we measure and report about absence. So in these few days, we've heard lots of statistics about how absent fathers are, how common absence is. And one of my, I think, key contributions is to challenge what we mean by absence. That I think there's an exaggeration, overgeneralization about what absence is and how absent fathers are. So I think my biggest hope is to change the way that we do measure absence in general at a broad scale. But I bring other experiences too that I think can contribute to the space. So I've dabbled in evaluation as a qualitative researcher in several spaces. So I've observed gender-based violence programs in South Africa. I've observed alternative response programs in Michigan. And with that, I bring this perspective of not just measuring how they're performing, but how they work. And so that means observing programming, observing conversations between practitioners and clients, observing the process over a series of weeks and months to see how these messages, lessons are being taken in, how they can be more effective. And so I think that's just as critical to not just measure, but make sure that the mechanics of the program are working effectively. But I also offer something, I think, to the way that we measure outcomes, things like that. And a bit to what Darius was saying, when I'm teaching research methods, I always ask my students, what do you mean by what you mean? And so it's very easy to say, we want to make this impact, we want these certain outcomes, but what does that mean, right? How do we measure that? How long does it take to measure that? And so I think there's also a lot of work to go into carefully crafting what we mean by how we want to impact the men and fathers that we work with. So I look forward to bringing that skill set to this space.
So before we hand it back to Jeff, I just wanted to say, one of the things we're strong believers in is tapping into the multivariate expertise among us. And so we've got two people sitting up here, Geneva and Ken, and then there's Jason here, who are brilliant grant writers and really understand the grant writing process. So if you decide to partner with us, you'll have an opportunity to participate in a webinar, which we're going to give to among the network and the partners on how to write a strong grant and a successful grant. So we hope you'll join us for that, join the network and be part of that.
Right. But again, as Ken has indicated, that you have a membership into PFF starting on the 1st of June, and which ends for free December 31st. And again, whatever it turns out to be the membership, we will make sure that you can afford it. The question is whether or not you value it or not. All right, whether or not you value it or not. And it's interesting how society works. We value things that cost money. All right. So much so, many of us, if we dropped a penny, we'd pick it up. And what we say to ourselves, I'm picking it up, it's money. All right. And so when you pay for something, you're more likely to value it and to cherish it. It's interesting. I used to give out a pledge of being a responsible dad, initially some years ago, and I used to give it out for free, just have guys take a pledge to be a good dad. And then I said, no, I'm going to start charging $10 for this. All right. Because I wanted to see who's going to step up to say that making a pledge to my children that I'm going to be the best dad is worth $10. It's just $10. And so we just have to understand the value of that. And so what I want them to also do, and let me also say, and I know for some people this may not mean very much, but these are not only PhDs, they went to the top universities in America. All right, to the top universities in America. Did nobody give them the degree? The reason why I like Matthew is because he went to Michigan like me. All right. He went to Michigan like me, and I know the type of education that he got when he was there. All right, because I received the same one. It's interesting when I got my PhD, it was only 105 PhDs given that whole year to African Americans. 105. So I was part of 105. So I won't tell you when I got it, but I've had a long time. I've had a long time, and again, because it's about the ability to project and to pull together the best minds, the best people with the right cause that you can possibly assemble. And that's what we're trying to do. We're talking about world-class quality here. We're talking about being able to compete at the highest level. We're trying to make sure that your dreams come true, that the dreams of your communities come through. And you got to have the right pieces. And part of that piece is having top evaluation. And I also see my mentee who has really been contributing to my growth. Is that Latrice still here? Latrice, stand up. All right. She's a PhD too. All right. PhD too. And listen, and she don't know right now, but we're going to rope her into the network. All right. And Latrice got her start at this conference. She was an intern for this conference many years ago. And she sat back and she picked up notes. And what she did, she went down to the University of Georgia, wrote her PhD on fatherhood. All right. And now she's working at the Morehouse School of Medicine, heading up a major federal project. All right. I'm just so proud of her because she is the only double recipient in our Hall of Fame as being both the fatherhood leader, woman fatherhood leader, but also research scholar. All right. She got double. You know what I mean? So, and I'm also saying that it's not just the men, it's the women too. All right. And so this is who we are. And so what I want to ask them, in the time left that we have, what are some of the common mistakes that happen as you move, as you set up a project? All right. In other words, what does a valuability assessment mean? What are the stages that what are the stages that you should go through in order to put yourself in a position to have impact? Right? And what are some of the common mistakes that are made and things that people do that really start the evaluation process off wrong? And any one of you can speak to that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it all starts with the theory of change and the logic model, and really taking it seriously and working shoulder to shoulder with your evaluator to make sure you have a very clear description of your program, defining what are the resources that you use in order to create the key components, which is the service delivery aspect of your program, and then what do you do and actually to bring the guys in and to have them gain exposure to those key components, and ultimately, what are the outcomes that you're trying to affect through your program. And if you have that clearly defined and articulated, and you and your staff are committed or on the same page with that being your North Star and all that you do, to me, that's the critical first step.
Amen. Go ahead.
So just building on what Herb said, I 100% agree. Is that part of that process, what should come out of that process, or maybe what should motivate that process too, is understanding clearly what you want to learn. I don't mean a list of 15, 20 things. I mean like 1, 2, 3 big questions, right? But one of the biggest, most important things to do, and one of the most frequent mistakes when people are actually moving toward evaluation, they don't stop to understand, specifically know how many people they're serving, how many of what percent of people they try to serve actually get the program. And this is before you do the evaluation, things you should know going in. And sort of, what are the barriers, to that happening? How much are people getting? Because I've seen huge evaluations on the promising programs. You see no impact, and you look inside and you see, well, only 10% of the people in the program actually got the program. You know, and had they just stopped and done that first part, the theory of change, and then looked at, well, given our theory of change, what are we doing to make sure that we're bringing people in and that we're keeping people, and just knowing what your track record is and knowing and having a plan for that. To me, that is like, it's at the core of being able to do a successful evaluation, and it will actually affect the extent to which you show impacts or not, given a potentially effective program.
And just quickly, I was thinking about even when you come into an evaluation setting, your mindset. So you can have a protective mindset where this is my program. I built this up. I want to prove to people that it works and we understand that, or a learning mindset where I want to understand what's going on, the good and the bad and the ugly. And I think people have to understand that as an evaluator, we're only doing a good job if we can tell you ways to improve your program. So if we get in there and everything is peachy, that means that we're not doing a good job. So even you had said something in your session yesterday, just about you learned something and you made changes. That's what evaluators want to see, because it makes us, they can understand that our work is actually valuable. Because we can tell you that your program is terrible, but if you don't do anything about it, then it doesn't really matter. And if we can tell you it's perfect, and that's a lie, it doesn't really matter. It only works if we learn, we help you understand, and that you make the strategies and the changes necessary to more to increase the benefits to people's lives. So.
Go ahead.
I want to mention two things. When you talk about evaluability assessment, you really have to think about your organizational structure, how you ensure that you can hold an evaluation or hold a program, having the right people in place to do the thing that you said you were going to do, as well as your knowledge management strategy. Like, how are you expecting to collect data, store that data, process that data, analyze the data, and then tell your story? That is all a part of your measurement model. Oftentimes when I'm supporting folks, it's like, oh, where's the data? I don't know. I gotta go find it. I think it's in a file cabinet. It's like, it's in a file cabinet. We are using AI these days. And so just understanding how you can even use innovation to advance yourself beyond what we've done in the past, recycling. Rather than recycle, think about how you can be new and innovative in respect to how you're doing things, in respect to measurement, okay?
I would just add, I think timing is also very key. I think, waiting till 2 years of program has been in effect to evaluate it, when you could have identified other inflection points that could have allowed you to pivot and more effectively service your folks, then 60 folks have already gone through the program. I think making sure you build in time that you can pivot more quickly to better service them in your program versus waiting until 2 years after they've been served to adjust what you're doing. So timing, I think, is really key to allow yourself time to adjust, make things more effective, things like that.
Thank you so much. Go ahead, Janelle. Here you go. No.
Okay, I just had to jump up. You guys are great, and you're right on it. When you're looking for, your program, talking about sustainability, right?
Mhm.
Everybody wants to start in the last year of their program to decide to work on sustainability. It is not going to work. It's what you said, Matthew. You have to start from the beginning when you're writing it, and you really have to have a roadmap of where you're supposed to go. And if you don't work on sustainability before you write your program, before it gets funded, you are not going to sustain. And if you get $1 million, it takes a lot of effort to be able to replace that million if you don't get a federal grant. And most people's sustainability plan is we're going to write and get the grant again. Well, so is another 1,000 people, and they're only going to fund at best 150. Avis Files had $1.5 million, $8 million grant. Second time she didn't get it. And there were reasons for that. And she made a mistake. When she filed under grants.gov, she didn't put both of her pieces in. So a technical glitch, she didn't get it. But her program 5 years later continues because she did an RCT, because she did program return on investment, because she did a CQI. And we took that show on the road to her politicals, her stakeholders, and they saw the data and they gave her the money. So if you don't listen to them, you better listen to me because I know what I'm talking about. Okay? You cannot count on getting the grant again. We can't even count that it's going to come out this year. Lord have mercy. Okay.
Yeah, I just want to add one other thing is, I think that what I've observed over the years, because this work is rooted in social work, social services. I think there's and this is really the key emphasis for us forming this network. There's a tendency to undervalue the expertise that is involved in running a fatherhood program. It takes real expertise to go into these communities that have been damaged by policies and a whole host of things having to do with the America political and economic system. But you have to have authentic conversations about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay? And most people don't want to go to the ugly or to the bad, but that's where you start to make progress. And so we think that a key here is this isn't statistical or methodological or design. This has to do with the authenticity of the conversations about what it takes to engage with these men and to work with these men and to face the challenges and the barriers that these men incur. And I think if we can make that step, so see, this is a qualitative step. This is a human conversation, social interaction, authenticity of relationship step. If we do that, I think that the other stuff can really fall into place. But so let me just say, I think it's the professionalization of the practitioner saying, hey, give these people some respect and also let us articulate the skill set that is involved. And how do you, when that guy comes in the door, what do you do? How do you get them in the door? How do you recruit them? And then how do you retain them through high quality service delivery so that you can then measure the outcomes, provide the evidence, and get the money. And when you get the money, then you can sustain your program.
Right. Yeah. Let me say that see, hanging out with them make me think I'm halfway smart. All right. Right. But the folks in Memphis know they've been exposed to these folks. Right. They've been exposed because, when that opportunity presented itself for MPCL to work with the Memphis project, the nation's largest co-parenting project that, we called on the services of Avis Files, who is a part of our team. We called on Herb Turner, who is a part of our team, because we are committed to getting the best results and presenting it in such a way that it is understandable, that it is really doing what it set out to do. And that even though they have an evaluator, they still have the assistance of us working with them to even through, particularly if they want to take a second look, at what things going on, they have that resource. We think that every program should have this type of resource. Whether that's MPCL or not is up to you. We think it's a good idea to do work with us because we combine our experiences, to deliver and to deliver at a world-class quality level. That's what this is all about. The last thing I want to do, and then I am going to open it up for questions, is there's always seems like a fear of evaluators. You know what I mean? A fear of evaluators, and and again, last night at our authors roundtable, or authors gathering last night, one of the things that we talked about, Ken, if you remember, are the type 1s, the type 2s, type 3s, and the type 1s are the ones who really they really don't want to be evaluated, because they really want the program to stand on their passion only. All right. And listen, they're good at it. And so they may get an initial grant from a donor, and to see whether or not they're going to flush it out. And many times the type 1s don't, because they think when they go another step, somebody's going to start copying their stuff, something that they think that the world only is for one of them. or for one project like that, let me tell you something. There is nothing new under the sun. All right. And even though you may think that you own an idea, I can guarantee you in the annals of history, we can find what you think that you were only ordained to do. Let me just lay it out that way. All right. We got to get out of that thinking. We got to have the mindset of a three who wants to be in a position where they collect good data. They are working with experienced people who know what they're doing. When you come out to their programs, you're not scrapping around trying to figure out where they're keeping their records. All right. Because when we first started out, I was a part of the very first evaluability assessment done on fatherhood in the mid 1990s. And we identified 5 projects. If I mentioned their names, you would know them. So I'm not going to embarrass them. But we went out to the sites. You know, we couldn't tell what the heck they were doing. And then when we asked to look at their records, all right, it was a file cabinet, right? And most of the files didn't have anything in them. And we said, what's up? But they were asking for money. They were asking for money. Listen, that does not work. And not only were they not having good files, you know, they were supposed to be following, they said they were fatherhood program, but they defined the fatherhood program only as they were working with fathers. You know, one program we went to, instead of doing fatherhood education or parenting education, it was a Black history course. Right? Because they felt that maybe if they knew more about their culture and their background, that would transform them to be the best dad possible. Trust me, over the years, I've seen it all. All right? We're better than that. We have to be better than that if we're going to sustain this work. So what I'm going to do, what about this fear thing? Why, you know, what do you think that fear is, and why should people not be fearful of evaluation? Any one of you?
I was on an advisory committee for a large foundation. Sorry, my voice already carries in the mics. Anyway, and they were working with a very large community-based intervention in New York in the Harlem area. And they asked the, I think y'all know what I'm talking about. They asked the leader or one of the programs, like, you know, why don't you want to do an evaluation? And you know, with this company, he said, well, didn't they do an evaluation at Job Corps? And he was like, yeah, ain't no more Job Corps. Because the evaluation was sort of really focused on thumbs up, thumbs down. And he's like, I don't want to subject myself to that. And so that's one of the biggest, you know, barriers, is people worry that they won't find the result they're hoping for, and therefore they'll, they won't get funding anymore. And that's both a problem with the ecosystem in which the evaluations work and the simple answers that policymakers sometimes want to complicated, complex questions, and a problem with how people structure their evaluations. They do it like they're at the craps table, like, hey, you know, hope for that, you know, hope for that 7, right? Right. And really it's got to be, even their approach has to be more nuanced, and that'll affect the conversation with the ecosystem. And as several people pointed out, not thinking about one source of funding, but state, local, federal philanthropy, so that you don't have to really be so dependent on, okay, if this doesn't get the exact right answer that I want, I'm going to be just done.
Anybody else want to try? We're addressing the issue of fear, please.
Test day. Is anybody happy on test day? Is anyone excited about being tested? Right.
They the ones who passed the test.
Right.
But
I was grateful that I was test wise, so I always could look behind the constructs of a questionnaire, and I didn't realize that was happening at a young age for me. But at the same time, everyone doesn't show up on test day excited. No one wants to be quantified and compared, and it's a heartstrings thing. You're in this work because you love it. You're in this work because you care about the community, and to be rejected is not, it just doesn't do well for your psyche and the way that you want to move forward in your work. And so oftentimes you hold it close to your chest because you're like, but I don't want anyone to tell me no, that I'm doing this wrong. But that's where the partnership, some other folks are talking about, ensuring that we lean into the familiarity of it, and lean into the interpersonability of it all. Relationship building is very important. And so as an evaluator, I show up as a collaborator, not as an auditor, not as a monitor, not as one that's trying to tell you you're wrong,
Mhm.
but really let's help you. Let me help you. Let me help you help yourself. And so that's the space that evaluators actually have to posit themselves, even when coming into spaces that are sincerely heartfelt.
Let me just build off of that in terms of, because I think, you know, you have to recognize we're in America. And in America, there's a great premium placed on the politics of knowledge. Who determines what is knowledge? And hierarchies of power. Who's in position of authority? And so to Darius's point, we're trying to break that down because I think there's a mystique around evaluation. And that mystique is created by wrapping it in an unnecessary level of complexity and sophistication. And so the other thing we try to do within the network is we try to make it, as Jeff would say, we try to put it where the goats can get it, okay? You just put it down there. You don't even have to look up, okay? We're trying to break it down for you. And also to Darius's point, we want to educate so that you can see evaluation from a different perspective and see how it can help you rather than hurt you. Because we do think it can help you. It can help elucidate a lot of things, but it has to be presented in a certain way. Otherwise, there's a mystique that's maintained, and that allows the evaluator from positionality to have hierarchical power and control of knowledge.
Okay, and so what I'm going to do for the next 5 minutes or so, entertain questions. Anybody got any questions? Yes, sir, Dr. Naji.
So much for that Thank you so much for the presentation. This is to the panel. Is it to our advantage to use community-based orientated research? Is it a way that we can start to proliferate that amongst the different groups? So we're really going to the community, partnering with universities or whatever institutions as partnership, but have it based in the community in terms of what they want. Is that a possibility?
Yeah.
I just think this connects to the question around distrust. I think that's essential. I think when you're doing evaluations and you're not including the community, that's one of the problems with evaluation. That's when Herb was kind of talking about the sophistication, the hierarchies of power. Again, it's when you're thinking, I know, I'm coming in as the evaluator, I have that knowledge, so I don't really need to address or to bring you into the fold. And that's when you get into really problematic, high stakes evaluation, and that's not what we're looking for. So when you're saying, can we do that? I kind of feel like we have to do that to do a good job.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if we want to make progress and we actually want to begin to have programs that, again, are bringing about true change in men, which leads to strengthening families, which leads to strengthening communities. We can't be relying on hierarchies of power and politics of knowledge and traditions. And that's one of the challenges when working with the university. I mean, this isn't to be critical of them as opposed to just recognize people are the culture of higher education brings with it certain pros and certain cons. And so you want to recognize that. So I think I guess what we're trying to say to you is, and it sounds a bit cliche, but we really have to try to start thinking about things a bit more, things differently, and really think about it more carefully. Like, for example, what gives anyone the right to study someone else? Like, have you thought about that? Like, we just kind of assume that we have a right just because we're getting funding from a source, that it gives us a right to study individuals. I don't like being a guinea pig or a lab rat for anybody. Why would, just because someone may be low income, that doesn't mean we have a right to study them. And so I think we need to start interrogating and investigating and being metacognitive about the things that we're doing to make sure that what we're doing is really the right thing for our communities.
Good. Good.
Sorry.
Go, no. Fine.
I agree 100%. I want to add another piece of that on the end of it. We will learn things when we're all doing evaluation together that are different than what we expected, right? And if we aren't, we can start with, as folks were saying, the community partners as part of that endeavor. then people will have a hard time really taking seriously believing things that are counterintuitive or different than what they thought before. Because we will learn things that we will learn things that are surprising. And if it comes from somebody that you are a partner with, then the community will be able to absorb that and think about it. If it just comes from someone who's coming up to this hierarchical position, then it won't be knowledge that gets into the community and then into practice, and then won't help the lives of the young men.
Okay, let me take one more question. One more question. Stay on time here. Okay, right here.
Coming to you. Based upon what you said, this has been absolutely incredible.
Mhm.
And I find that sometimes what happens is that the provider or organization sometimes is a little intimidated by, if you would, those other community partners or universities who might not quite see the community the way that we on the ground have seen it.
Mhm.
And so that immediate rejection or immediate questioning of what we're saying is oftentimes minimized,
Mhm.
and it causes one to retreat back to that holding it to the chest because they're not for us. How do you address that? I mean, is that a matter of just having a real take off the glove, transparent conversation and saying we're going to start by respecting each other? Or which route do you suggest that one takes?
Right. So I think that's why we started the network, because we wanted to provide an opportunity for you. We're saying, hey, you've got a group of evaluators here where one of the things we value is the authenticity of the relationship and of the conversations that are going to take place. They're going to be principled. I think the thing I respect about these gentlemen here is they have a strong scientific basis
Mhm.
for what they're going to do. So they're not going to compromise because they want you to really learn about your program. And by learning about your program and doing things in a way that's consistent with science, you're more likely to change men's lives. So that's a guiding principle. But on top of that, I think we really believe in what you're doing. We respect the practitioner and what he does. And with that level of respect, I think it just creates a whole different dynamic. So like I said, I've worked with Eric in terms of Fountain of Life's ministry, working with Tehran, and it's been great. I think we're actually should let those gentlemen, I don't know what you think about it, but it's been great for me. We're learning. And the other part about it, it's symbiotic. See, I don't want to get on a soapbox here, but my challenge with the traditional paradigm is it's been parasitic.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm just going to tell you the truth now. Like my grandfather says, I'm going to give it to you straight with no chaser. Okay. It's been parasitic. And what we want to offer is a relationship that's symbiotic, that when you walk away from them, when all is said and done, we can say, hey, I learned something from that exchange, both parties. Okay. And what we really would like to see is say, wow, the guys have changed and I can prove it to my funder so they can give me the money.
Okay, and listen, I know we have other questions,
point?
and we, go ahead, Matthews, especially since you went to Michigan. Again, hey, he go, whenever he want to talk, he gonna talk, go.
Now, I really want to echo what Herb said. I think that I think there's a big tension sometimes in, wanting to be right versus wanting to do what's most effective. And I think on both sides, it's very easy to come in and feel like I know how to answer this question or I know what the right answer is versus it's a process we both need to engage in. And I know many times I've come up with a question and I want to prove that my question has a certain answer, but I have to let the data speak to me the way it's going to speak to me. Just the same, I can't assume that I know how a person's program should work more effectively. But I think there is a innate, I don't know if it's a pride thing, but with these good intentions, we want to be right about them. I think the most humanizing thing we can do is just know that we're engaging a process, not that we're coming in with the right answer. But I've engaged that issue at every point in the process, and it's always very humbling to realize that the way I think I can answer my question isn't always the most effective one. So to echo what Herb said.
All right, thank you so much. Let's give this panel outstanding hand. Now, they're going to be around. All right, they're part of the team. They're part of the NPCL team. They're going to be around And I want you to feel very comfortable, approaching these gentlemen and to share your heart's desires and dreams for what you'd like to do during the time that they're here. But you will have access to them through MPCL. And as Herb said, we will be having webinars on the grant writing process. We're also going to have a webinar soon. We're going to invite Commissioner Carter to talk about how to use state TANF funds to fund fatherhood programs. He's going to be doing that for us. And so all this is part of the Practitioners for Fathers and Families membership network. We're going to be doing these things, and I just want you to be aware of those things, and just want you to know that between now and December, you are a paid up member, and you can actually, take advantage of those type of things. Derek, can you put up? I want you to, Derek, excellent intern. All right, I hate to see him go. Right? Yeah. Listen. But I know him, he's going to stay involved in some way. And what this QR code for is that for those of you who want to nominate a colleague who's a father in this room as a favorite father for 2025, you have between now and 2 o'clock to fill that out, right? To fill it out, and they will be honored, and they will be able to be in the raffle to get the iPad. So I want you to do that, all right? Did we, Derek, do we have the QR code for the pledge? Not yet. Not yet. No, that's not for the pledge. So what we'll do, right? So we'll get the pledge, and we'll make sure we get it around to some of your workshop groups, because I want every man in here to take that pledge and to commit to having a plan for their health. Yes. Pardon me? What's this go? What's this say?
We'll work on fixing the QR code here in the next 15 minutes. So make sure you take a picture of the QR code, and please come back to it, because we're working behind the scenes to make sure it's the right information that you need.
Okay, so it's time to go. So before I do that, we recognize folks here, at MPCL in this conference, and I want all these men who've taken time out of their busy schedules, to be with us, to be a part of this what I'm going to call this revolutionary group of men who've come together. And we also know it's not just men, it's also women, right? Who've come together to provide a resource to this field that's never been done before. It's never been done before, all right? And we want them to know that they're valued and they're appreciated. So we just have a little token here, and it says, and it reads the same for each one of them. It says to Dr. Herb Turner. I might add, Dr. Turner is already in our Hall of Fame. So, these other certificates of appreciation probably don't mean as much to him as this Hall of Fame induction. But what it says is that this following certificate of appreciation is given to Dr. Herb Turner and each of you for your outstanding contributions as a speaker on changing the course for long-term success at the 27th Annual International Fatherhood Conference, June 2nd, 2025, making a difference for generations to come. This is over. To the virtual audience, we're going to be about a 10-minute break and delay for our next workshops. Good morning.